Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 207 of Into the Outer Realms. But as I always say, much more importantly, it is episode 36 of Craig
And
and Joey's
Joey's
Sinister
Sinister Mission.
Mysteries.
Yes,
Craig,
sir.
this to me is sort of a perfect storm because not only does it pull in so much, probably about 85% of the episodes that we've done of Sinister Mysteries, we're going to touch on some aspect of tonight or drop a name that applies or a subject that we did. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to be one of those the sky is falling or the town is on fire kind of guys. But I think that this is super important because the things that we're going to talk about tonight, as sinister as they are in process and they're happening faster than I thought they were going to have happen. What's your
Oh
thought
yeah.
on that?
Oh yeah. No, it's you can definitely see a lot of stuff's ramping up. I mean, they even say they're way behind to achieve these things. So unfortunately, like with anything, the only way to get back on track with major changes is through major actions, and we're kind of seeing some of those things to where if you don't, one of the easiest ways to reconstruct something is through a massive war.
Yeah, or
And
a couple of them.
yeah, one of the problem areas is right, it's pretty much the areas where you're seeing conflicts right now is those are the areas that, that are really where we're hanging up. And so, yeah, in order for them to achieve the 2030 goals, there has to be a massive change of thinking and everything in the Middle East. That's on
Yeah,
all sides. Shiite, it just all those things, those have to that ideology has to go away in order for the 2030 agenda to come into play.
right. And part of the reason why they got behind, and this is going to be one of your bits that you especially tackled tonight because you've been tracking this closely. Things got off track for them in 2016
Hmm.
when they woke up that November morning and found out their person, their shill, did not get into the White House.
Yep.
So they had quite a setback, which the news right now is showing me, right? All hands on deck, defeat Trump at all costs
Yeah,
because
they're
they
not
can't
even they're
afford.
not even taking trying to take the chance. They're just basically it's all out. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, the RFK thing that we spoke about this morning. So, couple bits of housekeeping. I'm going to roll the Into the Outer Realms open. Uh, Craig has some big things going on in his life right now that he can talk about or not. On the
yeah.
far side of that, we are putting something very exciting together for Sinister Mysteries. We will announce it at the appropriate time, and things will look a little different in some ways, but the content will be the same and as driving as ever. So I want to give a shout out tonight to my good friend Richard, the Mead Master at Misty Mountain Mead Works. I'm telling you, folks, this is great stuff made with honey, not grapes. Will not give you a hangover. It's an amazing Fenrir Spirit, the great Nordic wolf god. This is terrific. This is one of their latest offerings. You can go to mistymountainmead.com. I guess you could call them sort of an unofficial sponsor, but I wanted to mention them tonight because after this episode, you may need a drink and some mead, the old Viking way. Um, Craig, in some Scandinavian countries, there's something called the pirate party, right? And Vikings are just pirates and they are all about freedom. Look at that. Now, we got to get you some of Richard's mead because that is a proper mead horn right there. That is awesome. Folks, another quick thing I want to tell you is that next week, the show is at a special time, 8 p.m. EST instead of 7 p.m. because we have Ken Gusquard who's going to check in with us from Vancouver on the west coast of Canada, of course. So he asked for that. And he is going to talk about that Trahasis epic. He is going to talk about the Enuma Elish. He's going to talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh. And he's going to look at it. He's a computer systems like whiz. And he has interpreted this stuff as biotechnology, genetic manipulation, AI, matrices, all in these ancient Sumerian. And I will tell you what, I've read all the books, and he is
Mhm.
spot on. His data is so compelling. So I'm really looking forward to that. Third thing is we had Bruce Rapawano on the show last week, and man, he was awesome. I shared information about
That was
his
a good show.
abridged. This is the unabridged of a scientist's own alien abduction encounters. It's got a lot of information on implants, which we talked about a lot, Roger Lear and all that. Thank you, Craig. He's amazing. He came to me and I was so honored to have him on the show. Let's run the intro. We're going to come back and we're going to dive into Agenda 2030 and the Great Reset. There are things you need to know.
There exists a realm beyond our wildest dreams, a realm beyond reality that the gatekeepers and guardians have always told us consists of nothing but tricks of the eye, weather balloons, swamp gas, sand cranes, fairy tale myths of monsters, crackpot conspiracy theories, and desperate cries for attention.
We know this realm exists, and it's just beyond the horizon. The preset path, the well-worn walkways where the cynics want us to stay.
Instead, give this a listen. Put on your headphones, adjust your volume, close your eyes, and fasten your mental seatbelts because the twilight-tinged turnoff from reality's alluring highway is looming just ahead.
We're about to leave the plane of the easily explained, couldn't possibly be's, and the no way I just saw what I saw's, for the spaces and places where everything is possible, and if you stay long enough, even probable. We're about to take a journey into the outer realms.
You didn't know I had a ale horn behind me, did you?
I did not. That is so awesome. I'm educating Ronald on mead. So hold on one second here. No, fermented honey, kind of like wine with more of a spine. So there you go. Okay, so that's that. Let's move on.
Got a whole menagerie of stuff here behind me, people.
Yeah, no, very, very cool stuff. That horn is beautiful. So Agenda 30. There's some confusion with Agenda 2015 and Agenda 30. It's essentially the same 15-year target from 2015. This was developed by the United Nations. The United Nations, like many of the organizations we're going to talk about tonight, because the World Health Organization is very much in the news. We're going to touch on that tonight as we go. Very important things happening. Are co-opted organizations. They're basically the instruments of the World Economic Forum, who we'll also talk about tonight. We talk about every day. This builds on what's called the Millennium Development Goals. And I'm going to say, Craig, we had a little project before everybody really got too busy. And I think Sinister Mysteries really is the continuation. It's just under another name with you and I, the Red Thread Collective. And we did an episode on something called the Georgia Guidestones. And on July 6th of 2022, they were bombed. Now, what are they? They were 4 19-foot granite slabs inscribed with 10 guiding principles in 8 languages. I will touch on some of these principles tonight in comparison to the SDGs. There was a camera, a car pulls up, a bomb goes off. Part of it was damaged, not all of it by any means. It was raised completely that day, and there has been no real investigation, Craig. It's been up sometime in the 90s.
There's about as much done as the Vegas shooting.
Yeah, which we're going to tackle that, right, this summer?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we are. So there are 17 of these folks, and here's the thing. They sound really good. Like, who wouldn't want poverty eradication? Oh, Craig, I got to put this up, right?
Yeah, if you put that up, everybody can read along with everybody.
Poverty eradication, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below the water, life on the land, peace, justice, and strong institutions. That
Yes,
sounds
they're-
pretty damn good. So
we're
what's
really going to be talking for everybody, just so you know. It's pay attention to number 8, number 11, and it's going to kind of touch on a little bit of 12. We're going to really touch on those.
I
That's
would
the sustainable cities is the big one. This goes back to what the show 2 weeks ago on Obama administration. Yeah, that sustainable cities, the Obama administration really laid the groundwork. Is a base. They put the framework and everything. That really was what, because everybody, like I said, we're not going to derail it too much right now, but I just think of smart meters. The push for electric vehicles, the reduction in coal fire, power plants, all these things. These are what is setting up sustainable cities. And you've heard the thing, a 15-minute city. You've heard that term. Yep. So
that's what I have. Now here's the basic problem with a 15-minute city. You have big corporations, and Craig, several weeks ago, we did BlackRock and we did Blackstone because they own most of everything now. And Blackstone is heavily, heavily, heavily into real estate. They're the guys who show up and pay cash when a house in your neighborhood goes on the market. The problem with 15-minute cities is if everything is self-contained and it's owned by the same corporation who's also distributing your social credits and your digital tokens, it is a company store. You mentioned coal. Coal companies, you went to work for the coal company and you were paid in scrip. Scrip was basically a promissory note that was only good at the company store. So you could not get out. It was impossible. How the hell do you get out when all your money is going back to the same people who are giving it to you? Problem with me to 15
Foxconn. Foxconn is a modern version of that in China.
Yes.
Everything, they live at the plants where iPhones and all this stuff are manufactured. They can't, their food, their living, everything is in this facility. They are indentured servants is what they are.
Yeah. Let's see here. Also, too, surveillance states. So when you have a self-contained city, right, the smart meters, the black boxes on the cars, we're gonna look at all of that. So peace, justice, and strong institutions. Number 17. Compare this with a Georgia Guidestone tenet. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. None of that is in play with Agenda 2030 and the Great Reset.
And
you
Joseph,
have puppets.
If you want the drinking, this is their first shot moment of the night. You can't.
Wait, what am I reading here?
How do you fight this?
Oh, how do you fight this? You can't, because King said the government controls everything. The government controls nothing. I hope to prove tonight that basically, folks, we are living in the Fourth Reich under the guise of the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab.
The only thing you can do is like I said, I don't want to make it seem like there's no hope. You can do the thing they can't control is free will and stuff like that. They can control the external factors, but the ones that prepare, that know how to grow crops, they know how to do stuff like that can do things. While that's going to last for a little while, eventually, as everybody sees, like even, I don't know if everybody remembers this. This happened during the Obama administration as well. During regulations, they are going after farmers markets. They were going after these things for regulations. Dairy farmers had to be regulated. They were wanting people to register their home gardens. So that way they knew, like I said, they were trying different. It didn't work, but as long as you can do this, you can hold it off for a while. But eventually, just like Joey laid out in the beginning, Eventually, the world is going to become like the company store. In order to get the goods, people use the term like mark of the beast. Eventually, in order to play, you're going to have your social credit score. That could be the mark, but you have to have this thing in order to buy the goods. We can go, me and Joey are going to barter. We're going to avoid the system. Well, the problem is, eventually one of us is going to run out of a supply, and we're going to have to get it. And the only way you can get it is by playing ball. Right. You're going to run out of stuff. You can't do it. Eventually, you're going to have to buy another cow. Well, you can't get it because it's been banned because of greenhouse gases. There's a lot of stuff. Like I said, I just don't want to just page it like, yeah, we're all screwed. Let's just go out of things. It's like,
no, because that's the wrong attitude. I have two different contingency plans in place. Craig is aware of one of them. He's not aware of the other one. Obviously not something you want to tip your hand and show publicly, but I do believe that everybody is going to, in 2 weeks, Craig, we're doing transhumanism. How cyborg do you want to be? Do you want to be cyborg? Do you want to have a digital ID? So we're going to keep framing all this. It's going to be a wild night. I can tell right now.
Take a shot.
Calls for action from all countries, regardless of income level. So this is a one world thing. Everybody's in, from the big boys to the little boys. There are no ideological political lines because it's all being run by this Fourth Reich. They encourage countries to integrate Agenda 30 into their national development plans. Keep in mind what we told you from BlackRock. BlackRock is running the development plan for post-war Ukraine. They are in charge of it. What the WHO is doing, we're going to get to that in a little bit, so I want to keep moving on. Craig, you always like to say this. The problem here is they are creating the problems that they are pushing the solutions for. They have created every damn one of them. These are the organizations that have been in place for almost a century. These are the same power players. It's their descendants. It's their mentees. It's their proteges. So much of this can go back to Henry Kissinger. Rahm Emanuel said it, bub. You go ahead. What did he say?
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
That's right. And they sure as hell aren't. So we're going to look at some of these crises that we're facing tonight and how they're manipulating it. Everyone, hi, everybody who just came in. We're going to keep on moving here. Let's see. So here's one of the big red flags, guys. Get used to, when you hear this, let your ears prick up and take note. Partnerships between governments, civil society, and private sector. This is public-private partnerships. Kofi Annan said it right out. The UN is a public-private partnership. When the hell did that happen? When did you let private corporations and NGOs and all that crap have voting or influence in the UN, right?
Yep.
Let me give you a good example, because Craig and I have covered this quite a bit. Let me give you a good example of public-private partnerships. SpaceX, Bigelow Aerospace, and the other private that Jeff Bezos has. No accountability. Private defense contractors have no accountability. This is why disclosure is stalling. You get private defense contractors. We don't need to talk about aliens, UFOs tonight. That's not the point. But you get them in a room and you say, why, after every audit, year after year after year, going back to 9/11, can you guys not pass an audit? Where is the defense budget money going? The defense contractors say, we don't work for you, we don't answer to you, and it's none of your business what we're doing with your money. That's what public-private partnerships are. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Here's another example. You start to have, when you have public-private... Oh, Craig, I just went... Did I go dark?
Yeah. Sorry, someone that can't... Yeah, it's
That's
like
bizarre.
Yeah, it's like the camera reset.
I'm not touching anything.
Joey's going through a great reset.
Yeah. Robert Catliff bounces back and forth between the Food and Drug Administration and Google Health. That's public-private. When you have the Treasury Secretary become the head of the Federal Reserve and then go back to becoming the Treasury Secretary, that is public-private public-private partnerships. They do not work. Public-private partnerships, Blackstone owns 75% of Ancestry.com, and BlackRock is one of the largest investors in 23andMe. They have their fingers in everything. And since we're talking about health, let's talk about MAID, medical assistance in dying. Tens of thousands of people have died under this program in Canada. They're working on some version of it in the United States. There are plans to make this AI run. So you go to a facility, there are these things called necropods, I believe. You answer a questionnaire, and the AI decides if you can live or die. Here's a very basic problem with AI, folks. There is no accountability as to where the material is coming from. So a lot of people are upset now, I think, and rightfully so, that Meta AI has launched and is gunking up the works of your Facebook page and all the stuff that you're doing. Google just introduced me to their new AI assistant today, Gemini. So Google Assistant is no longer a thing. Now it's Gemini AI. You don't know where they're getting their answers from. So if you go to Google and you type in a question and it gives you a generative AI response, it does not cite its sources. Is that what you want for AI that's going to decide what you eat, where you can travel, whether you live or die? It's not telling you where the material is coming from that it's basing their decisions on, Craig.
Yeah. I'm trying to look this thing up too, is because that was one of the things during the Obama administration as well. Remember during the affordable health care, when they were doing that thing, they talked about, Sarah Palin brought it up. She was the one that really made, I think, the death panels.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything that literally said death panels, but when you delve into it, and this is one of the things that this gets into the dark side of that. So people look at your sustainability goals for 2030. That's up there. And you'll see, like, people say, like, they talk about no disease, health, everybody's going to live longer. You're going to do these things. Well, what they don't tell you is, by doing that, you have that chart, just like your social score. You have a chart where it's a guide that they set up where you have a certain range where when you're first growing, you're young, there's not a necessity to keep you alive. The prime thing is between the early teens to about the 50 so range. That range is where the primary resources will be funneled to. That's medicine, food, energy, because you are in your productive thing. So the people that get older, that's where the health thing, like the term when they came out with death panels, where they're going to determine. And that's where the thing that's in the dark side is, if actually you start reading into the paperwork on these things, because once again, thousands of pages, when you dive into this stuff, you're going to find out that they're going to say, okay, great. Joe and Craig needs a hip replacement here. He's 71. Well, he is no longer of a value to society. He's not producing anything. So no, he doesn't get the hip replacement. Who gets the hip replacement is going to be the 48-year-old who's still a productive member. And so what happens is you start having, this comes into Hollywoodized, the Soylent Greens. You have these type of things where these individuals, you are no longer of a functioning member of society. So therefore, no resources are going to be attributed to you. And that's how these things happen. And that's the dark part of this thing, is they realize this is a global initiative. This is not an America thing. Like, people, I don't mean to hijack it. I'm going to do it for just a couple more minutes, but you take America's quality of living. We have standards here. We have indoor plumbing. What is easier to achieve? We're going to bring the whole world up to our standards, or do you have to take the Western world, America, those things, and you have to knock them down to where they meet, where you can meet at a lower threshold?
Yep.
And that's because you're never going to take Rwanda, you're never going to take Nigeria, you're never going to take, some of these Uzbekistan. You're never going to bring these communities up and to where they are equal with, like, New York City or LA. It's never going to happen. The only way you can do it is you've got to knock those parts way down to that way, and then through these equality goals, through these things, making things think. But when you realize it's just like, I think, just socialized medicine, it's not equal. there you start to see, why is that? There's going to start to be who warrants the resources over this, and that's what'll happen.
Yeah. So Agenda 30 utilizes tools and mechanisms for monitoring progress, and that's really what I want to spend the bulk of the time on tonight, educating you about who the people are and the philosophies behind these monitoring things. Because in order to make these 17 things happen, and they're dead serious, the reasons that they're doing it are nefarious, but their commitment to it is dead on and full. There's something called the Global Disinformation Index, and also something called NewsGuard. Global Disinformation Index blocks and demonetizes dissenting voices. If you look at who they're talking about, it's consistently the right. This organization was founded by a former international executive at MTV and a member of the U.S. intelligence community. So there you go. That's all mixed up, and there's something called NewsGuard. Craig, a very interesting thing happened last night. You know how I'm always saying, anytime you and I mention Bohemian Grove, on my YouTube videos, there's something called context, and YouTube adds it. I don't add it. I don't have a choice, and it gives the Britannica. Okay, I had Bruce Rapawano on last week, a heavily credentialed scientist who happens to be an experiencer, talking scientifically about implants and alien abduction. YouTube pulled the Wikipedia page for alien abduction. Wikipedia is nefariously debunks.
Yeah.
Anything that's UFO, anything that's paranormal. So basically what they're telling you folks through the mechanisms of Global Disinformation Index and NewsGuard, what they're telling you is, me as a host don't know what the hell I'm talking about, or my guests, and my guests don't know what the hell they're talking about. So just go to the Wikipedia page and learn about alien abduction. Craig, it's censorship, and it's undermining what we do.
And Wikipedia is a great starting point. It kind of gets that would be like your, okay, I've got some information. Now I can kind of delve in and go check these things. But yeah, they do that because it's a controlled narrative, because anybody can edit, so it's,
right. So that's one of the things that they're doing. So these, it's very nice that when you watch one of our videos, it's closed captioned. Well, those videos don't get fully processed on YouTube playlist categorizations until YouTube has done what they've done with it. The Obama episode took 5 extra hours before I was allowed to really do anything with it. We've talked about this before. We'll talk about it in 2 weeks. I just want to hit on it quick. In 2022, Henry Kissinger and former Google CEO Eric Schmidt wrote a book called The Age of AI and Our Human Future. Humans should cognitively detune and let AI make the decisions. AI will control the decision space. Regulation will come from the UN. That means regulation will come from the Fourth Reich. It will come from the World Economic Forum that runs the UN. AI will not only censor the internet, but it will create it. Craig, do you know that that AI is generating 8 billion new words on the internet today? They're outpacing human content. 8 billion new words a day are being generated by AI. So they're already creating the internet.
Oh yeah, and it's you said it right there too. That's a perfect setup for kind of like how some of those things we talked about in the beginning. It's just the AI will actually become in a way kind of like the overseer.
Yes.
It'll be kind of like, the control panel, because now you can set the guidelines, and then that AI program will be able to watch. Like we talked about smart meters. For anybody that doesn't remember these things, when these come out, the talk with some of these like the clean power plans and stuff that they did, these things were set to where some of these communities you would have, so say Joey likes to have it at 68 degrees in his house or something like that, well, you're using way too much energy. No, Joey, you are now 70 degrees. And you have no way of adjusting that because it locks you out. You are set to that. And so this thing, fridge too cold. It's using up too much power. We're going to turn your fridge up a little bit. We're going to turn these things down. You're using too much water. We're going to dial down your usage. And that's what these smart meters do, is they're going to control what can and go. And it's getting harder and harder to not have a smart meter attached to your house.
Yeah. And guys like you and I, are we ultimately going to be punished for what we're doing right now? Is that going to affect our social credit score?
I think it depends on how much you rock the boat. I think that's one thing. Like, I've had a lot of people that say, "Aren't you guys worried?" I'm like, no, because we're not telling people to overthrow the government. We're not telling people like take up arms, go to the streets. We're just laying out like the stuff I'm telling you right now. You can literally go to the IMF page and read it. It's right there in print. So there's no reason to punish somebody that's reading the same thing that they've got published. Now, if we've broken behind a firewall and we've got a personal, to WikiLeaks and stuff, and we've pulled something from the director, his private email, and we're publishing on there, yeah, we're going to get popped. We're going to get in trouble. But yeah, doing this stuff, like right now, one of the things I'm going to bring up here a little later on is from the Obama, it's the Obama Whitehouse.gov site.
Mm-hmm.
And it's published right there. Anybody can look this up. I go, this is not something that's secret. And so, yeah, I don't think that'll punish us. It's when you peel back the curtain and you put out stuff there that isn't on official record. That's when they start taking notice on whether or not we need to keep an eye on these guys.
I think also too, if you have 1 million subscribers,
yeah,
just like too many people were listening to John Lennon, so they tried to kick him out of the country.
Everybody hit like and subscribe and get us there. Let's test this theory.
Let's test the theory. There you go. The last thing that Kissinger and former Google CEO, you're going to hear certain big tech companies all through this, folks. That's why I'm making the offer. You can reach me on Facebook, private message me, and I will send you the outline from tonight. Or you can go to my email address, joeymediawriter@gmail.com, and you can get all this information. I'll send it to you. I'm asking for nothing. I'm not asking for donations, subscriptions, anything. Yep. You want my notes from tonight, you can have it. They're talking about a two-tiered society here where the elite are empowered. These are these select cabal of billionaires. The rest are chattel drawn into a new version of the reality, a la the Matrix. Because remember, AI is trained on available material. The more it distorts, the more it will become distorted. So garbage in, garbage out. And there's already so much garbage. I will tell you, I test ChatGPT all the time. And if people are firing their employees and having ChatGPT write their communications, write their procedure manuals, write their speeches, they're screwed because it's garbage. It's junk. I'll tell you that right now. It's wrong more than it is right. And it's very biased the same way Wikipedia is. Another example of this AI is a story that broke last week, Craig. Lavender is the Israeli Army intelligence AI program that has identified 37,000 probable militants in Gaza or amongst the Palestinians, and they're seeking to exterminate them one by one.
What is lavender supposed to do? Calm.
Say that again.
I said the purpose of lavender is for a calming effect. So it's kind of interesting that their control mechanism that they're calling lavender.
Oh, well, I'm going to talk about name distortions tonight because they love it. Just like the nuclear physics community, just like NASA, they love to play with names, these people. So I've mentioned the WHO pandemic treaty. It's now on the list to talk about. They are in negotiations right now, folks, April 29th to May 10th. And they're trying to create a pandemic treaty. There's a lot of hysteria around it. It failed 6 months ago. They softened the language. But basically, the WHO would set policy for the next thing. What are they calling the next thing? This is interesting. They're calling it Disease X. And they have made public statements, you can find it on the internet, that this is 20 times more fatal than the last one. They don't know what the hell it is, Craig, but it's going to have a 20-time more fatality rate.
Well, it could be the new COVID strain that they they engineered that has a 100% kill rate.
Yeah.
Which, scientifically, that's not, that doesn't really, the numbers don't work out, but it makes it, be like 99.999 because there's always, something always resists.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park said, life finds a way.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Ron was asking the origin of Obamacare. Charles, you're absolutely right. It really was based on Romney's thing when he was Democratic governor of Massachusetts. Oh, Mitt Romney, the Republican? Yeah. His favorite thing was that legislature. So if you look at his gubernatorial portrait, he has that legislation in that picture, which means it was the most important thing. He was one of the biggest critics of Obamacare, Craig.
Oh, yeah.
He just completely shifted his. So thanks, guys, for taking care of that. What do I have here? Okay, let's talk about the myth of government regulation of big tech. So they call the big tech guys, Facebook and Google, Zuckerberg, this and that, Musk. They call them to Capitol Hill. You guys better behave or we're going to shut you down. So, courtesy of Whitney Webb, here's a little history lesson, folks. There's something called InQtel. IN, big Q like NyQuil, TEL. InQtel is the venture capital arm of the Central Intelligence Agency. Every one of the big tech guys, Amazon, Google, all of them, Facebook, were all seeded with this venture capitalism money that nobody can account for half the freaking time. That is where it's going. Okay. And I'm going to talk about that a little more here, Craig, if I can.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
This is where the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab, you will own nothing and you will be happy about it. That's a direct quote. BlackRock's Larry Fink is on the World Economic Forum board. They have created the Collaborative Surveillance Initiative at Davos, their big national meeting in Switzerland in 2024. Big Pharma was on the panel of collaborative surveillance initiatives, while the WHO is creating this contravening pandemic treaty that will supersede national treaties. It happened in Australia. I was watching a report today. Last time, Australia had just created their pandemic report a year before the big event, and it was superseded by WHO. Also, the World Economic Forum was also talking about Ukraine and securing the Middle East. There you go, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
Their fingers are in everything. Okay, so here are these players, guys, and here's their history. This is why you may want these notes. There's something called the Thiel Institute, THIEL, more German, just throwing it out there. Peter Thiel is big into financial investment and all of that kind of stuff. He started a company called Palantir. So all the nerds out there, especially the Tolkien high fantasy nerds, know what Palantir is. It is a crystal looking ball. Sauron has one of them with the eye of Sauron in it. And he watches everybody. He co-ops those balls. So, Craig, this is what I was talking about with their clever little names. It means to watch from far in one of Tolkien's native languages. Palantir's entire existence is about data fusion. Their mission statement is to take big data and turn it into actionable intelligence. So to gather everything that we're all putting out there, our habits, how warm we keep our house, how many miles we drive, where we fly, who we talk to, what we watch, and make it actionable intelligence. They were the first outside investor in Facebook. And for the first 3 years of their existence, the CIA was their only client. Palantir replaced something called total information awareness, which was developed by John Poindexter. Folks, go look at this guy, way up in the Navy, Reagan's national security advisor, went to work for Rumsfeld when he was Department of Defense. This dude is DARPA. This guy is surveillance, intelligence. So they went to Congress and they said, look, we have these two programs, guys. We got total information awareness and we have LifeLock. We're going to keep an eye on people. So this whole NSA spying on Americans, this was nothing compared to what total information awareness and LifeLock was supposed to be. Congress said, oh, hell no. We are not going to be responsible for this. Privatize it. The same day that Palantir was launched in place of TIA, Facebook was launched to replace LifeLock. Keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that in mind.
Well, you think
okay?
just about the personal, all the information that you. I mean, a lot of people don't understand. It's not even nefarious. It's just nowadays the true currency is metadata.
Yeah.
I mean, just what better, just what better source than something that we publicly give? It's like we're basically answering survey questions all day long just by showing up. You show the food that you like, you show the drink. I mean, like right now, all I have to do is bring it up. Joey, Craig and Joey's Sinister Mysteries. Oh, look at that. Craig is drinking a 0 sugar Pepsi. He likes that. So we can target, They can sell this information, so it doesn't have to be just nefarious. But then when you start realizing, and I don't know if it's a good time if you want to talk about 15-minute cities, but that's how this metadata, even this breaks into those things. I'll take like a couple minutes here. I'll just do it. Okay, so everybody knows a little bit about 15-minute cities. Okay, how did we get to this point? A lot of people say this, well, this doesn't make any sense. We'll go back to President Obama. He just he rolls out his plans. First one, we got the healthcare. That's his big one. A lot of people, I don't know if everybody remembers, cash for clunkers. Does everybody remember this? This was, we've got to do our cafe, the cafe standards. We've got to get this to where all automakers have to. We just came out of the bailout. That President Bush started, and now Obama, took over, and so we're bailing out these auto companies. And then, so this cash for clunkers was, you're driving this car. We want you to get into a more fuel efficient, more sustainable car. GM just got this massive thing. So everybody's getting the Chevy Volt, pushing for this, you got to get the Prius, you got to get these cars. So we're giving all this money. Fast forward to today real quick. We're going to bounce back and forth like a bad TV show. Today, show of hands, who can find an affordable used car? Nobody?
Especially not with the interest rates.
Well, you can't because a majority of the really bad cars that most people would use as their first time car were taken off the thing, and they were part of the state to get the money for cash clunkers. That car had to be destroyed. It couldn't be taken to a junk. It had to be crushed, certified, and it's gone. So millions of cars are now taken out of the used car market. So now you have all these things. What do we have now? We have all these old Priuses, Volts. Nobody's driving those things. So now we've got this problem. You're seeing a shortage of used cars to where now everything that's here, this is by design to force you into the thing. So now 15-minute cities, you have a certain location. You can't get out. The point is everything that you need is going to be within 15 minutes of where you live. So go to the Klaus Schwab. You're going to own nothing and be happy about it. You're not going to be able to afford a vehicle because what's out there now, it's going to be a Rivian, Tesla. It's going to be something like this where unless you can't afford a $40,000 to $60,000 car. Most people aren't going to be able to buy this. So now you're going to do public transportation. You're going to be doing, Uber. You're going to be doing these things. So now you're locked out of this. Anybody that can afford these electric cars, there's a reason. The reason why, if you've noticed in the last 10, 15 years, they're not developing new batteries that allow you to go 500, 600, 800 miles on a charge. They're still stuck around that 200 to 300 mile range. That's by design. That's going to keep you locked in these areas to where the only people that are going to be able to afford to leave are the ones that can afford your gas cars. You're the ones that can still afford these classic cars, these ones through this thing. So now you have, like Charles just said, modern day villagers. start walking for your health. I know not everybody's a big fan. Glenn Beck had a great book, Agenda 21, and it laid out, kind of like a vision of what this would kind of look like. And a lot of it was human labor as opposed to, animals, to energy, to where like all of us were required to walk on treadmills to put power into the, into the community. And we were all fed nutrition cubes, which was exactly what we needed to survive. And if you look back to the Great Reset, that's one of the things that they laid out. And if that picture, if you see, that's one of the things is zero hunger, zero things. What is going to be eliminated is the ability for people like the Americans and stuff. We're not going to be able to go to a buffet and just have lobster steak and just plow anything, because that's not earth friendly. That's not sustainable. What you need is, Joey and Craig, you have your rated, this is the calorie content that we know you need to survive. Here is what you're given. This is what you need to survive.
Yeah.
And that's what you'll be given. And in these cities, a lot of people don't like this thing, but that's what's coming. And because if you've noticed, one thing they've really been harping, and this is one of the things that's in, if you read in the book, that push, Tyson just had a big, just getting big blowback on it right now about bugs being used in some of the products. Yeah. And it's one of those things, like a lot of it's being ground up insects as part of fillers and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that this Agenda 2030 really pushes, is that this is a thing, because they're trying to get away from large meat consumption because it's bad for the planet.
Right.
Well, like I said, how many of you want to give up your hamburger? Not too many. Well, get ready. They're going to keep telling you the virtues of a insect burger.
Yeah.
As the thing. And that's how you'll get into these things. Like I said, I could show you these things, but as you look back, like real quick, just last one is just this came from 2015, right before Obama left. He had his clean power plan. Well, if you look at what it lays out, and this is the thing, every little thing goes into, ends in, 2030. Is like they show, this is the goal is set for 2030. And Joseph, the thing that's going to go down with that, beef lobby, you're not going to really have a choice, because we could go back to whatever conspiracy theory you want to, like what happened in Ohio a couple of years ago, the poisoning of the groundwater. Eventually you're going to get to the point to where, through regulations, through stuff, it's going to become unaffordable to continue that process. You will self-regulate. That's one of the things we talked about with the Obama episode. Self-regulation. That's the Obama administration made that mistake. They introduced us to the regulation side of it. We weren't looking at that. We were looking at what Bob, our senator, Tina, our congressman, were doing. We were all bad about that. Well, we didn't realize that the EPA was creating restrictions to where the only people that knew that was the farmer, the rancher, that was suddenly like, I can't do this. And we're just like, that's just one little farm. Yeah. This is what's coming, and this is what's going to happen. And self-regulation is the key. You making the conscious decision to give up your car, to go stuff, is the key. They're not going to be able to convince you to just drop it right now. But if it becomes unaffordable, you're going to freely give it up.
Right. This is interesting. You talked about Ohio, and our Senator J.D. Vance, who, if not today, very soon, is doing a big fundraising gig with Trump because he's on his short list. He was bought by Teal to the matter of $12 million. So there you go.
Yep.
Speaking of Teal, right. Awesome. Folks, you're probably seeing two brothers making the rounds, Eric and Brent Weinstein. Eric Weinstein is a scientist, blah, 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 likes to talk about all these fancy things, loves to talk about how he met Jeffrey Epstein once and begins to unravel him from that one meeting. Well, Eric Weinstein was the managing director for 10 years at the Teal Institute. So guys like Teal, guys like Klaus Schwab, I'm going to introduce you to some other guys. They send out these shills to do all these podcasts, talk about all this stuff. Craig, it was amazing when the dude his name escapes me now, but the intelligence guy that they tried to cut down and say he was an alcoholic and he was suicidal because he went and did the disclosure thing, right?
Yep.
He goes to Congress. Who's sitting there? Jeremy Corbell, another shill for the false disclosure movement, and this kid, Jesse Marcel, gets a ticket to this congressional hearing, suddenly has David Grush. Has David Grush on this 90-minute all-access thing. You go to Jesse Marcel's LinkedIn page, and he is a teal boy. So this is how it works, folks. They're sending their people out to talk about Craig, there was an interview with Eric Weinstein and Alan Dershowitz. And you should have seen Dershowitz giving the looks to Eric Weinstein because he knew why he was there. Thiel and these other guys are all trying to cut their connections with Epstein by saying, oh, we knew he was a phony and a this and that and all along. So, guys, that's what you got to watch. That's the world we're living in right now. So, Peter Lucky invented the Oculus. Hell, I have an Oculus. It's very, very cool. What did he do with all his money? He has an AI weapons company called Anduril. Look over my shoulder here. This is Anduril. That is on every single one of my episodes right beside me here. This is the reformed Narsil from Lord of the Rings. Craig, that is an affront to take Aragorn's sword, right? The sword that slew Sauron, and name an AI weapons company after that sword.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's like you said. I think it's one of those. It's gone beyond where it just is kind of nerdy thing. They're doing the things to where, I mean, there seems to be a distinct plan behind these things. There's a reason why they picked the name.
Yeah, everything is coded, and part of what Craig and I are trying to do is decode. We're trying to decode the mysteries by filling the void with data, connecting. Max Blumenthal is doing a great job at this. Whitney Webb is doing a great job at this. He's very kooky, but he's also brilliant. I think Russell Brand is doing a pretty good job. These are some people, when you're not watching us, if you have a little extra time, watch these guys. How about the Gates Foundation and something called Impact Investing? So I'm going to hit you guys with some more keywords here. The Gates Foundation was the same guy set up by the same guy who set up the Clinton Foundation. We all know how corrupt the Clinton Foundation was, right? There were some dead bodies around the Clinton Foundation and their work. Bill Gates, let's talk about him for just a second, folks. There is a video out there of Bill Gates making a presentation to the CIA about a vaccine that could take the fundamentalists out of fundamentalist Middle Eastern terrorists. Vaccinate the fundamentalism out of them. There are some people, Craig, say Patricia Corey, who was on my show, who say that part of the jab was cutting the silver thread of spirituality for people. A lot of people lost their spiritual connection and they think it may have been engineered in the jab. Bill Gates has developed software, folks, that he wants in all the voting machines this year. It's called Election Guard. Could you imagine, Craig? One of the shills of the Fourth Reich wants his software on the election machines.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things. It's kind of like everybody, a lot of people that, the naysayers on it, they're like, it's not that big of a deal. It is up until your side is not in charge. Yeah. It's like when your side's in charge, there's not really a problem. When it's switched, then all of a sudden it's a huge, like, oh my God, this is a danger to, to democracy. And that's what, basically, with modern technology, everybody's like, we go back to paper. You can't. It's just, when you get to the point of where 200 million people, it's really hard to count 200 million ballots within at a night's time. It's not, you can't do it. But is there an easy remedy? I don't know. I mean, with Gates. I don't know. I mean, it brings up, you brought up a good thing. It's just, that calls into question, the spirituality thing. If it's just something, if you're able to cut the silver thread, what is that? Does it affect the pituitary?
The third
Pineal
eye.
gland. I mean, is
Yeah,
it, like I said,
pineal gland? I
is
don't
it,
know.
I mean, is it something that, that alters you chemically in the brain or something to where, because that would be, because at that point would be, is religion just a construct of, how you were brought up? Like I said, is it just the thing to where this is like a blocking thing? Because I don't know, that would bring up whole questions. Like if by simply injecting something in yourself, you suddenly, lose the connection to a religion, because the fundamentalist thing is like, how do you take somebody that's that into, I mean, that'd be like, I fervently believe I've been abducted, aliens abduct us, I got a shot. Yeah, aliens aren't real.
Yeah. Well, neuroscientists have
Yeah.
looked up, and electromagnetic manipulation can cause hallucinations, have you see aliens, have you see spirits. So if it's a matter of vibration and frequency, and Tesla said everything is, well, we know that, say, for instance, and we need to be careful here, but we know that viruses operate on certain frequencies. Everything operates on certain frequencies. If you can isolate that frequency and send something to block that frequency, it's just like putting a block on a radio station. Once you know the
Yeah.
frequency, you could put a block so that that frequency doesn't come through. I don't know. Maybe that's a future sinister mystery. What exactly happened there? I'm gonna touch really quick on two guys, because in 2 weeks we're gonna do transhumanism. One of them is Yuval Harari. Folks, this guy looks like somewhere between Nosferatu and Gollum. Check him out. Frank Jacobs, who Craig and I both highly respect, calls him the prophet of the WEF. And he has a nice big write up on the World Economic Forum website. Yuval Harari says that humans are hackable animals, that someday there will not be Homo sapiens, there will be Homo Deus. There will be no more reason for God. We will not need God. It's a crazy construct. Humans will be gods in the form of cyborgs. Craig, how much do you have to hate yourself? How much do you have to hate the humanness of being human to push this kind of shit?
Yeah.
It's
What?
amazing.
Yeah. No, I agree. But it's one of those, like we talked about too. It's just the thing. It's just like in these Agenda 2030. It's just like, loved one has Parkinson's. Who does, the thought of like, if I implant this, if I become part cyborg, I'm no longer going to have to worry about, Michael J. Fox can now do another Back to the Future movie, because he's back, the man's back, just, and that's the danger of the thing. It's just like, what part are you willing to give up for the, for it's that double-edged sword thing, what are you willing to give up for the piece, for that freedom to be able to walk again, to be able to do these things. And I think that's why it's so intriguing, so alluring, at the same time so scary, is because you're giving up what differs you from AI, from the machine.
Yeah.
That, that piece, at the same time, what you're gaining. I mean, it's just like we could do these shows, like bam, boom, you have that information just pop right in your head. You don't have to do research. It's like the Matrix, boom, all of a sudden wake up. I know Kung Fu. Because you just simply put in the fighting program and you got it.
But that's kind of like a video game hack? Like, I'm not a fan. The journey is the journey, man. That's
what makes us human. I mean, it's the emotions.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about, let's move on, because we're going to talk about this a lot in 2 weeks. This is all we're going to talk about. We can hit these big philosophical questions. So folks, bring them. Bring your ideas. Bring where your line is in the sand, because mine is, I want to go out as I've come in now. I have friends who are talking about, oh, I want this pill that's going to take 40 years off my life. I'm going to do this or that. I will talk about this in greater detail in 2 weeks. Oxford University had something up until a week ago called the Future of Humanity Institute, run by a philosopher called Nick Bostrom. This guy was the darling of the tech billionaires, transhumanism guy, eugenics guy. This guy, 2006, right around the time that the tech billionaires funded him and created this institute for him as his mouthpiece so that he could be their mouthpiece, he came out and said that whites are more intelligent than blacks. Get over it. It's a fact. Like serious eugenics here. He received 13.3 billion pounds for this institute from the Open Philanthropy Project, which is backed by Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskowitz. Another one of these big tech guys who are trying to control everything. Okay, Craig, have you ever heard of effective altruism?
I think so, but go ahead and just read it. It just, like I said, well, my wheels are spinning, and it makes for great audio.
You got it. That's funny. So Nick Bostrom coined this term, effective altruism. Basically, this is a utilitarian view of the world. Do these 17 things the way we say them, how we say them, as much as we say them, because we are saving the planet. Effective altruism. It is not enough to be an altruist, but you have to be effective. This goes back to Gates, impact investing. But the problem is you got a little cabal of billionaires who are quite frankly insane, nuts in the indigenous wet-to-go condition of greed and too much power is a mental illness, who are telling you all these things. Peter Thiel subscribes to this. Everybody in the World Economic Forum, OpenAI spouts this. As a matter of fact, Craig, you remember when they pushed out Sam Altman and then he wound up coming back out of ChatGPT? He is not a fan of effective altruism. He says something is wrong with this, folks, and they pushed him out for it. That's how important this is to him. Now, all these groups that I've been talking about tonight, Thiel Institute, WEF, all these guys, and Sam Bankman-Friedman and what he was doing was all tied up in this. They pass grants back and forth. It's basically money laundering. They're self-sustaining, pulling money out of the system, left and right, taking money from CIA's In-Q-Tel, and they're passing it around to put their shills out, the Weinsteins and all these guys. Now, think about the Georgia Guidestones, why they needed to be destroyed. Balance personal rights with social duties. They're usurping this. They don't want any kind of balance. They don't want you to have personal rights because it's bad for the planet. So these people who created these conditions, who created these crises, are now telling you, you can't leave your 15-minute city, you can't eat meat, you can't go to your daughter's bar mitzvah 700 miles away because it's going to hurt the planet. It's going to hurt the planet, guys. So just stay home. That's what Skype is for. That's what Zoom. Remember when everybody was in lockdown and you all, for months and months, talked on the videos and did everything on videos? You survived, so just keep doing that crap. What all of this really leads to, well, I'll just tell you there's a happy ending with Bostrom for now. They closed them down. They called it eugenics on steroids. We're going to visit that in 2 weeks. This is called, and again, I have to thank Frank Jacobs for this. This is basically science populism. They're manipulating climate change data, health data, pandemic data, reproductive data in order to test social relationships, to test wills. Who's going to mask? Who's not going to mask? Who's going to carry their passport? Who's not going to carry their passport? Who's going to social distance? Who isn't? So on and so forth. Who's going to take the jab? That's what we've come to, Craig.
That was always been a theory, is that was a test. And you can see, because people say nobody's going to do these 15-minute cities. Yeah. Well, look how many people you quit talking to relatives over a mask and an injection. That was, that was untested. That just came out, and people quit long-term relationships. I mean, people missed out on loved ones' deaths, births. They did all this stuff in the name of just being told that they had to do something. And so if if 90, over 90% of the world population is going to follow that order, there's not going to be any chance that people are going to stand up and not do this 15-minute city.
Right.
Yeah, it's already showed that they did the test, and it showed that people are willing to do what they're told when they're told, under the guise that this is what's best for you.
Right.
And they've done it. I mean, they've shown they actually did a dry run and showed that the world population is ready. And so I would not be surprised if they just keep ramping up some of these things, because people showed it during the C-19 era. People showed that they were willing to go along with what they're told.
Yeah. And to infight, and families were falling apart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not talking to each other.
F you, I'm never talking to you again.
Yeah.
Oh, because you decided I'm too scared. I'm worried about what might happen if I take this. And, it's like I said, it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah. Guys, check out our YouTube chat room. Maria's telling us a story there, quite personal, about the infighting in her family. And and we heard it. Yeah. And yeah. So let's talk real briefly about digital currency here. The central bank digital currency that everybody blew up and went nuts. And then the House financial committees, they all said, no, we're not doing that. And everybody said, yay, Congress, you love us. CBDC was never going to be a thing, folks. It was never. It was held out there. Craig, you call that the Overton window, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Where I hang out something that is so undesirable. Hell, in Britain, that's how they went digital. They didn't want to elect this guy because he was pushing digital currency. This was about a year and a half ago. They bring in a woman who's totally against it, and they tank the economy on her in 6 weeks. Shortest serving prime minister ever. And who did they bring in? The guy that they didn't want. And he was like, it was Mark Antony. It was like, okay, if you want me to come in, but I'm still about this digital currency. And they were like, dude, save us. So guys, watch out for this. That was the
because I shared that article with you where the Biden administration said that Joe Biden wants to raise the capital gains tax to well over 40%, which what it's going to do is that's going to lock everybody into their investments. And that's when digital currency is going to come into play, because if you're unable to take your stuff out because you're going to lose almost, with state taxes, almost half of your money, you're going to leave it in there and it's going to get rolled into a digital asset.
Yes.
And so you're starting to see that stuff's being trapped. But at that same time, don't put it under your mattress. That's a horrible idea. Don't pull everything out and sit out, because then it's the same thing. But you can see the workings are in play. I mean, they're moved. The chess pieces are being moved.
Well, I said that to Tanya. You could take all your money out and have cash, but when they end cash, you can wipe
stuck.
your ass with it, literally.
Yeah. It won't, after the deadline, cash will have no value. And once we get to like the barter system, you and me, okay, well, I've got all this piles of cash. Well, that's no good to me.
No.
I mean, like I said, I can't use it.
Confederate money.
Yeah. Yep.
After the Maddox. That's exactly it. So Joe brought up something, how he's been wanting to downsize, but he can't because of the interest rates. Craig, I know half a dozen people, and they were very industrious. They made they showed up, they worked, dual income, smart investments, retirement plans, and they are stuck in these giant houses because they cannot afford to sell them and make enough money to get into something else. So everybody is stuck in this stuckness. I think we need to talk about this tonight because it doesn't fit in transhumanism, and then we're moving on to other subjects in subsequent weeks. My theory of why they drove up the interest rates, so now we have record plus $1 trillion in credit card debt, is people are going to want to bargain. Mm-hmm. People are so leveraged that they're going to be willing to bargain. Okay, we'll drop your interest rate 10% if you convert your loans to digital currency. Joe, you were asking, what can we do? Try to live as low debt as you can, folks. Tanya and I have made huge sacrifices where we live and how we live for the past 6 years, and we have paid $60,000 in debt down almost. We're down to about $10,000 in debt. That makes us not as bullyable as somebody who's $200,000 in debt. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Trying to get away from my credit cards. It means sacrifices. You know, our cars have gotten older. All of it. We
Well,
live
that's
in a
where,
depressed
yeah,
area.
the Great
Yeah.
Reset, that's where that'll come in play, is because you're going to be presented with a thing. You're like, I'm never going to do that. They're going to come to you and say, you want out of this, crushing problem? Yes. Well, here, sign everything over to us. We're going to take control of it. We're going to give you this apartment. We're going to give you this thing. We're going to give you this ability. You're going to be here. You're going to be debt free. You're going to get what you need when you need it. And there's going to be many people that will take that deal
Yeah.
because you're in such a horrible place. It's like like you said, you're stuck. You have no way of getting out of this hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. The only way you'll just be like, oh yeah, I just, that'll be great, and you will take the deal.
Yeah, people got really, really excited about Bitcoin and all this kind of stuff, and BlackRock came in and is buying up huge amounts of it. They're not doing that so that it can be used the way it was designed to be used, as an alternate currency. They're using it to train people as a regular currency. So, yeah, you hear all kinds of stuff out there. What else do I have here? I haven't really mentioned him tonight, but you have Musk. He wanted X. Why did he buy Twitter? He wanted to turn it into WeChat. He wanted to turn it into the social credit, digital ID. He knows what's coming in the United States, and he wanted it to go through him. That suits his ego, that he would be that guy. Also, Neuralink, human trials, those killing animals. And yeah, Craig, I get it. And we'll talk about it with transhumanism. But folks, think about it. Where's your line? What would you sacrifice of your humanness in order to prolong your life, or to,
Yeah, you can take that from this episode, and when we do that one here in 2 weeks, what
Craig,
are you willing to give up?
Yeah, let's please do that. How far are you willing to go? Because I'll tell you all, I'm not willing to go at all. And take that for what it means. My family is aware of it. Everyone's aware of it. I just don't want to do it. And I'm not telling any of you what to do. But that's me. So Nikola Tesla has checked in with us tonight, Craig.
Yeah.
I can see a day when retailing as we know it doesn't exist. Yeah, we're already seeing shifts in that. You walk into a retail store, go to a kiosk and order and pay for the item while you wait in front of the store. Interesting thing, though, that just happened. They had those Amazon self-shop places.
Yeah.
And it was just recently outed that it was all bullshit. There are cameras all over the store, and there are outsourced people who are watching and writing down what you're buying and figuring out the cost. There's no AI. It's just people watching you at a distance, writing down your shit.
Really?
Yeah, they just outed that last week. One thing to remember, folks, and Joe, I think this is a point for the good guys. AI is getting way oversold. It is not sentient. It is still really fast databases, folks. It's not making decisions. It's far from running everything. That is bullshit. That is what we call in the business that I'm in, fake it till you make it. That's what that crap is. So watch. We have more time. The digital currency, though, and a lot of this other stuff we talked about tonight, this is fast track crap. Craig, we touched on Tesla and the EVs. Lithium batteries are horrific. They're horrific.
Oh yeah.
The mining process.
And that kind of goes to that, to that image where they talk about the affordable clean energy, the environment. Well, one of the prime things for all of this clean energy is literally destroying areas of the planet. I mean, strip mining entire jungles, mountains to get these things to make a battery, because you don't want, I don't want to have a coal plant.
Right.
You get back to the climate accord. Everybody's thinking, I don't think a lot of people realize that China, India, and a few other third world countries were exempt from the regulations. It was countries like the US were the prime bearers of the change. Once again, if you remember about, I don't know, half hour, 40 minutes ago, what did I say? You got to knock us down to bring everybody else up. Yeah. And the only way you can do that is you got to get rid of our light. And if we start cutting the power, how are you going to power your electric vehicles.
Yeah,
There's not
that's
enough power.
exactly right.
So now the
Exactly.
people who have money are going to be the ones that are going to get priority. Your social score, your stuff, you're going to get a priority at the charging station over somebody who is not playing ball. And so now you're stuck. It's
right.
going to become a 2-tier class system. You're going to have those, and you're going to have everybody else below.
Yeah. And that's exactly what that two tier. And when Oxfam says that the 1% own 43% of all assets, they are the elite. They are the top tier. It ain't
Mhm.
us. We ain't getting there. Couple other things. Remember when Biden first took office and one of the first omnibus spending packages, Craig, had this little provision that you would be taxed at an egregious rate if you
Mhm.
drove too many miles a week.
Oh yeah.
And that didn't get passed. So there are still some glimmers of hope here.
Those are test shots.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. Now, Joe said, right, Musk was one of the principles of setting up PayPal. I use PayPal now and again for certain things. They just sent me 2 offers today, Craig. One was to pay all of my automatic debits through
Yep.
PayPal instead of through my bank. And the other one was a bunch of credit offers, lower
Mhm.
interest rate credit offers. So they're trying to push you towards these things with certain bents here. So another thing with your cars, folks, there was just a report out of the UK. Guy buys this car, starts it up, and gets a message that the remote operating system is functional. He drives it right back he tries to shut it off, Craig. He can't. He drives it back to the dealer and he says, "What the hell is this? What is this remote operation system on my car?" They said, "Sir, we have no idea what that is." They sold him another car. Cars are having boxes installed in them now where they can shut your damn car off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now they'll say because you're intoxicated or you're whatever.
You're intoxicated, or this is an anti-theft system, or the stuff. It's going to be the same thing. It's just going to be like the Truman Show. You are getting to a point where you're getting too far.
Yeah.
Suddenly my car quit working.
And it's interesting how they throw this candy out there, right?
Mhm.
All these things, the Oculus and social media and all these video games, all this training stuff and all this kind of stuff. As far as that goes, what we were just talking about, I got to get back on track here. Oh, my son lived in New York City most of his adult life. So he didn't get his driver's license until he's 28 years old. And so he gets his insurance and they say, "Hey, we have this thing, give us access to your car and we'll analyze your braking system, how fast you drive, your turn radiuses, and then we'll
Progressive.
decide your insurance rate on that."
Yeah, Progressive had that, where you just plug it in, that just depending on how safe of the driver you were.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. It's all training.
Yeah, that Gigi Cat, that's exactly one of the things too. It's where if you fall behind on a loan, that's one of the things too, is it basically you don't have to worry about repossessing the vehicle because it'll be worthless to you because they'll kill it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's hardwired. Yeah, it's hardwired. As far as I know, it's like you can't, if you cut it, that kills a car too.
Yeah.
Bypassing, to bypass it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a really shitty economy where, hey, I saw yesterday, Craig, that the Fed wanted the inflation target at 2.0. So we've had 3 years now of upping the interest rates. It's still at 3.7.
Yeah. Well, does anybody think that's a compound? Everybody's like, we wanted at 2%. That's still 2% higher than it was before.
Yeah.
That's not like the prices are going down from 3.7 to now it's only 2% higher. No, that's 2% on top of the 3.7 that we just had. I mean, it's when they talk about, the rate's lower. No, we're going on like everything's like almost 20% higher than it was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't a tout like, oh, it's better. No, it's still bad.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I just bought 2 bags of Doritos. I'm just a little joke. I said $12 for 2 bags of Doritos. This is at Walmart. They were $5.60 $5.68 for that party size bag of regular Dorito, which is now like a normal size when we were growing up. Yeah, 2 of those bags, $5.68 a piece, and so with taxes, it was almost $12 for those 2 bags of Doritos.
Wow. Guys, I have a question for you. Tanya and I were at the grocery store today, and she had been doing a bunch of traveling. We're noticing that the cost of bottled water has spiked recently, and it's getting harder and harder to get. Is anybody else experiencing that? Craig, they want $3.70 for a 24 bottle case of crap like off-brand bottled water now.
Yeah, it's definitely that's going up too. And Charles, yeah, you got to remember too, the corporate profits. That's also because now, like that Doritos, they made these chips before, so as prices keep going up, it's kind of like the gas station. They didn't buy the gas at $3.30 a gallon. They bought it at $2.70, but now that money being sold at $3.30 is going to pay. So at that current rate, profits are going to be they're going to look like through the roof because their costs have not matched, and as they keep going up, that's part of that. But yeah, it's one of the same. It's straight inflation. Raw goods they don't include that in the inflation numbers, but that's it. Raw goods are through the roof.
Right. And also too, when you only have 5, 6, 7, 8 companies that own everything, man.
Yep.
They're going to dictate
it's
terms.
natural. Yeah. It's going to be natural that, you're going to have these things. It's like, oh my God, look at this company made billions. Well, yeah, it's because, Frito-Lay is the game. They own all the chip companies.
Yeah. So guys, let's keep an eye on this bottled water situation.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen people seem to be experiencing it. Yeah, the scams, folks, on your phones. I don't know. Has anybody got this one where you get a wrong phone number, or you get a text and it says, "Hey, Monica, looking forward to meeting up with you at the party tomorrow night." So you try to do the decent thing, and you say, "Hey, this isn't Monica," and they go, "Well, you sound like a really nice person. Like, let's chat." So it's everywhere. So the chat room is filling up.
Yeah. The other one, real quick, the way you brought that up for everybody is when somebody says, "Can you hear me?" Do not say yes.
Oh, tell about that.
Because that's a prompt. So like if you ever done like the phone tree thing, it's like, do you want to change this thing? Yes. And it goes to the next thing. So what they'll do is like when they call, you'll see, it's like, you'll hear that they're in a like call center or something. It's like, "Can you hear me?" If you say, "I can," if you say, "Yeah, go ahead," if you say something, "Go ahead, I can," then they can't because it's not on their script. What they're wanting is for you to capture your voice saying yes. And Joe just said it. They capture the yes. So now if they hack into your system, like your bank, "Would you like to proceed?" Now you have Joey saying yes.
Damn.
And so they can proceed to get in. So that's one of those things. Yeah. So just if you say something other than yes, it throws the whole thing off. But yeah, so just if somebody says, "Can you hear me?" Do not say, especially if you don't know who it is, don't say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. So Joe is schooling. King, I understand bottled water is absolutely horrific, but our tap water, you can't even filter out all the impurities and shit. We're really screwed. Like the crap that they put in our water and admit that's in our water in Eastern Ohio. But anyway, it's a real tough problem. And you think we're 70-some% water, so's the planet, and we have this water crisis. Talk about creating. Yeah. One last thing that I want to say for all the women out there and girls, fathers of teenage daughters, so on and so forth. The Georgia guidelines, they were very controversial because they said to maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Okay. Well, Target Corporation is gathering data on teenage girls. There was a story, and this is in a peer-reviewed journal, what I'm about to tell you. So it's not made up that I edit. This is where I learned about this. Target found out through her social media habits and her purchasing habits and all that a girl was pregnant, a teenage girl. And they started sending coupons for formula and diapers and all kinds of stuff to her at her father's house. And that outed the fact that she was pregnant. If any of you girls out there use something called Flow Tracker, they're using that data against you. You want to talk about a smart meter on your house. Part of Flow Tracker is you talk about how often you have sex. So they're tracking sexual activity, frequency,
and selling that data.
all this kind of stuff. Watch that kind of stuff, folks. And there was a program in Argentina where they're really targeting teenage girls. Keep in mind that what is being piloted in the Middle East, South America, Africa, China, so on, so forth, is coming to a country near you. So we covered a lot tonight, Craig.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we did.
So seriously, folks, if anybody wants my notes, I'll be happy to email those to you. Or if you don't like Word documents or you don't want to deal with a PDF, I'll cut and paste them right in an email. This way Google could read them with us. So, yeah, all of these scams are terrible. So everybody be careful out there.
And here's the obligatory thing for everybody. Just even if I said, I know it's not the sexiest thing, but everybody click that thumbs up button. That's critical, because that's actually what they register. Just sitting here with your eyeballs, that's great, but it doesn't register that it's an engaging information. So it's like all you have to do is, like, right now is, as you're watching it, you can watch this thing. I mean, we've been stuck at 2 thumbs up, on your Joy, all night, and there's more than 2 people watching. So anybody who hasn't, just go over there real quick and just hit the thumbs up thing, because then that shows the program that you're actually watching, that you're actually doing it, other than just because that shows you're engaged. Because right now there's a lot of people, you can just leave it on and you could be in some other part of the house. It's through the engagement stuff, like typing, questions helps, but also clicking actively clicking works too. So I know that's the boring thing.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, it did just go up, Joe. Actually, I have 7 altogether because I have a bunch of loves here, Craig, that you're not getting to see. That sucks. So I want to thank everybody who's come over from Three Beards to join us every other Thursday night. We appreciate it. I'm going to try to keep on making it worth your while, but I appreciate it. I know you're here for Craig, but maybe stay for a little Joey along the way.
That's right.
We'll see you in 2 weeks for Transhumanism. Remember, next week, Ken Gusward, man, you got to listen to this stuff. It is wild. These ancient Sumerian stories are all about biotech, matrix, AI, genetic cloning. It is good stuff. Ken is wild. He's very, very mellow, dude. I won't be dressed up like I normally have for a guest. I'll be very mellow. Craig, all good love and light to you and your family.
Thank you, sir.
Radio.
Yes.
Wednesday nights, you can watch Craig and Joey Sinister Mysteries at 8 p.m., 10 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep. I said
audio only.
Yep, audio only. Same thing. Just I said, see you guys. I'll be on this one right now every other Thursday. So I said
that's right, and we have some really big announcements coming up about this show that I think you're going to love. So peace, everyone. Take care.
All right. Have a good night.